Gluten Talk. Today I want to show you 6 mistakes to avoid when making a dough. This will allow you to go from the sticky mess dough to the perfect round smooth dough ball. With this knowledge you'll be able to make much better bread or pizza at home. Now the first mistake is going to sound super basic. I have a white bread flour here, and what I see many people doing is just adding way too much water to your dough. This results in a very sticky dough that you can't handle. So you need to adapt. Depending on the flour you have at hand, you need to adjust the water amount. A good reference here is to look at the protein content of your flour. The more protein, the more water your flour can soak up. And this is a quick table with a couple of reference values for you. This assumes that you have around 1 kilogram of flour. Depending on the protein percentage, adjust how much water you are using. I also provided you with the baker's math percentages. Now if you have a flour where this is not listed, I like to prepare several small bowls and add 100 grams of flour into each. Then I test different levels of water just by mixing everything together. When I can still see the window pane effect, I know that this has been a good water amount. Regardless, it's always better to go lower in water rather than too high. Next up, what I see many people doing wrong is they add all the water right away. Instead, what you want to do is you want to slowly add your water. This method is known as the bassinage method. You knead a little bit, or you just mix everything together and then you slowly add more water. This way it's easier to develop a gluten network. Once a gluten network has developed, you can trap additional water in that matrix. This way you can go ridiculously high in hydration for your dough. And this is such a game changer. Even if you have a flour that doesn't have so much protein content, you can go really high in terms of water content, allowing you to make more extensible doughs. These kind of doughs are excellent when you want to make something like a ciabatta, for instance. If you want to support this strange German weirdo, you can purchase a bit of flour from my hungry sourdough starter Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt likes to travel to collect more wild yeast everywhere. All your support is highly appreciated. Thank you very much. Now the next mistake isn't so obvious, no matter whether you're using yeast or sourdough. Please don't add too much of your leavening agent to the dough. You want to make sure that your main fermentation is around 6 to 12 hours. After adding water to your dough, the sprouting process starts. Of course, your grain is ground and can't sprout anymore, but the same biochemical reactions still happen. This is what's going to make you a much better tasting dough. If you're using sourdough, a good ballpark figure is around 10% of the flour in terms of sourdough weight. For 1 kilogram of flour, you want to be using around 100 grams of sourdough starter. For yeast, go very low. 1 gram of dry yeast per 1 kilogram of flour, or 3 grams of fresh yeast per kilogram of flour. A slow fermentation is the key to make an excellent tasting bread or pizza. I see many people simply kneading wrong. Knead smarter, not harder. You need to read your dough. To get started, mix together all the ingredients. Make sure everything is nicely homogenized. Then wait 5 to 15 minutes. This allows your gluten network to develop. You should then already see a bit of a window pane effect. You could have kneaded all the time, but it just takes time until your flour soaks up the water. So simply by being lazy, you're making an amazing dough. Would you like to add additional water? This depends on your recipe. In that case, do this now. Then keep kneading to add all the water to your dough. As you have already created a little bit of a gluten network, this becomes so much easier. I always like to knead for around 5 minutes. Then take a break again, drink a coffee, and come back to check your window pane effect one more time. Is it still there or is it looking better? Perfect. Now keep kneading just a few more minutes, around 5 in total. This will create excellent dough strength. Done. You just made the perfect dough. I can lift the dough from the container. Follows me. That's the gluten development. Probably similar to the window pane, you could also do the lift test. The next mistake I see quite often is, if you don't get to this consistency, are you sure that you used the right flour? Developing gluten mostly works with wheat flour, spelled too. But if you have a rye or einkorn or emmer flour, then you can't develop a gluten network. Kneading is so much simpler. All you do is you mix the ingredients together and you're done. So all this kneading is really only for wheat or spelt based doughs. And the last tip is going to be a complete game changer. Note the surface of this dough. It's still relatively sticky, and that's because the surface isn't smooth. I'm going to take the dough and I'm going to be putting the dough on my kitchen counter. This only works because the dough is now stuck to the counter. We will roll up the dough. Make it into a really nice smooth dough ball. And to do so, at around a 45-degree angle, I'm pushing into the dough and then I'm dragging it over the surface. Note how the center part here is not moving. And now check this out. How less sticky the dough already is. I can touch it. That's because less of a surface gets into contact with my fingers now. You can also get yourself a dough scraper. This might make things a little easier. but it's definitely not required. If you see that the surface of your dough is tearing because you overdo this, simply wait another 5 minutes and give this another shot. Now you just made the perfect dough. And this dough is probably at around a hydration of 90%, so it's very, very sticky. Congratulations, by following these tips, you'll start making the perfect dough. Thank you so much to all the monthly supporters. This channel wouldn't be possible without you. Thank you.